Now, part 2 of the foundation. We had rented one of these compactors to go over. We had already moved a little material closer to that support wall we had made in the first part. It also required filling up with a lot more material, so sand was brought in. I have an endless supply of sand further back in the woods with a sand pit, so it might not be the best material for roads and such, but for things like this it's actually very nice material to work with. The excavator to help do a rough flat area. And then compacting it as we went. We will still need to fill a little more in areas and try to smooth it out as best as I could. And more compacting. We had just used lines in the beginning to get a rough estimate, but my dad could borrow a laser guided thing that beeps to get it leveled and nice, so we started using that. And still more material was required, so more was brought in and smoothed out, and then more compacting. We are starting to get quite close to the required height. It will be a little lower in the middle because we're gonna put a drain there, and more compacting. We took the narrow bucket and dug a little trench in the fresh area for that drain to allow any water that gets in there, if any snow gets in there or so on. And it might be used for a garage for the car that will bring in some stuff that will need to drain away. And my dad had put on there some rickety ugly ass joints with some duct tape and stuff. Needed to remove a little more material to get to the correct level so that it will actually drain out. Height was checked at the drain, that it will be a little bit lower. As he pulled it a little up, it started beeping, so we know we'll have a good angle, or that the floor will be leaning towards the center. This area here at the end, we had to fill in a little more material, so some more compacting in that region. But we are getting quite close to a good surface to start do the final prep on. Some rails were put in the center that will be used later when doing the concrete, and my dad had a metal board that's quite stiff and so on, and put a little guide on it to give us the thickness of the floor that we aim for. And we had to fill up a little more most of the areas. It's at least easier to add material than to remove a lot of material, so but a little you could use the scraper and kind of move material around, but had you gone too high before this you would have had a lot of material to dig out, so it's better to be a tiny bit on the low side and add material at the end. My dad started working on the last wall for the mold, and I kept working on filling up the low spots and prepping the other side. And with one side down, it was just about to do the same on the other and get things ready. Takes a little while to get a good solid surface. We also found a better joint, so we dug up and removed that real ugly duct tape joint. And then we are adding a little bit of a plastic pipe in the concrete because we're gonna probably gonna add electricity here, or at least have the option to get an electric cable to the other end of the building. So, and since it will be opened underneath the outhouse section, you can pull a wire under there for the far down corner. We're not sure exactly, but we're prepping to add some electrical outlets to this building once done. The guide rails, the upper part, were removed because we are gonna fit some rebar mats. We had some of those plastic spacers to get it up a little, and we had just about the correct dimensions because 3 of them was pretty good fit. Well, we needed to add a little more, they were a little too short. Cut out a section for the drain, and then I started working on binding them together in a few places. And my dad cut parts from the last mat we had to fill in the last section that was also connected. I needed a little bit of cutting where we were getting some pipes in there. The black one, I have no clue if it will ever be used, but I'd rather have a pass through the concrete extra than one too little. Then one white one is incoming power and the other white one will be for the other side of the building. Moved around the spacers a little. Rebars had been bent down from that support wall, so it will be connected to the floor. Brought down the compressed air special to blow away some dust, and here we had brought in a concrete truck, cement truck, to help with this big pour. It would have been too many loads bringing buckets, at least like 10 of them, 10 trips, and that would have taken far too long. So started scooping that out, and the vibration to help it settle, and then starting with the guide rail in the middle and the edge of the mold, and start getting a good level. And the driver of the cement truck was both good at operating it and helpful, so it went without the issues. Well, towards the end we had a bit of an issue, but I'll get to that in a little bit. And we had a little bit too much material, so it required some scooping to pull that over, and then doing a jerking motion to kind of get a semi-smooth surface. And we worked our way through one side at a time. First side is easier because on the other one you had to step in the concrete here and there. It's nice when they have the long troughs that they extend, so you get material where you want it. And it was relocated to do the other side. And we worked our way through it, and towards the end we ran into the issues. We didn't order enough cement, so my dad ran off to the plant and got a bucket that would cover us, and he actually did not have it be just something you could hold in a small handheld bucket. He ordered enough that we filled one of the side wings on the south side also. Not all the pins wanted to come up, but they were left in the concrete, and the side wing was filled up also. So overall it went quite smoothly. Then I'm not sure if this was smart, but it's easier to add the rebar now when it has started to settle a little now, so it was possible to walk on it. And we had rented one of these devil spinners. That's you can find plenty of fail videos with them on YouTube. If you look around, you run it at first with a disc underneath, and you push handle down to go one way and pull it up to go the other way, and you can hold it kind of in the middle position to have it be where it is, but it's a little bit scary. If you had skipped the rebar here, you could have gone further out, but most of that scar out at the edge will be covered by the racing. It will be a lip all the way around it, and the actuator for activating the spinning was super hard to hold on to, so it was just not possible. So we resorted to winding a strap around it to help ease the clamping force required, but it was like a two-man operation to get that going. And then once it's kind of smooth surface, you remove the disc and you have 4 blades that spins it, and then you go around for as long as you want, pretty much, to get a really smooth, nice surface. The option to get it even better is to bring in some grinder after this, but that was done in the big garage actually, but down here I think this surface will be more than good enough for what it will be used for. So kept spinning around. My dad opened up because we were doing a little bit of a lip where the entrance will be, and I kept going round and round, multiple passes everywhere. Here and there I got stopped because the strap had kind of unraveled a little and I couldn't hold it. So then it started vibrating a whole lot in the middle of something, and there was some build up on the blades, and I think the material on one was still stuck, so it was off balance quite a bit. So did a clean and then kept going for a little bit longer, and it starts looking really good. Kept going around, and then it started to rain a little, so we called it. Said it was gonna be good enough, took it towards one of the corners. We had left out the rebar that will need to be drilled in the corners to be able to get quite far out in the corners. So while it was spinning, it was lifted to not leave any marks at the end. Lifted it up, cleaned everything up, folded the handle down and reattached that disc so we could return it. So it's going, it's some progress at least. My stressed father couldn't wait for me to get up here and help out with the last concrete, so he built the mold and went and got the concrete and everything. And we put a little inlay in here into the concrete. It's actually wooden pieces he cut out with the gear, and he says we might need to do a little bit of grinding here to get a little better drainage, but Looks good. And a bit of a bonfire, my pyromaniac dad. Oops, bit more water. Bit of a bonfire going to get rid of some debris. I would guess part of the mold and some old pallets. And as a final step for the foundation, we filled in a little more material towards that support wall, and to not have like a big divot here, so under the outhouse. So we brought in a couple of buckets of sand and simply smoothed that out roughly, and that will be the final foundation done. We have started putting it together and more will come.